In the ancient heart of a city, on the third floor of an elegant building with decorated windows, lived two women who, from the outside, seemed like a normal family. Teresa, 75 years old, and her daughter, Chiara, 45. But inside those walls, a reality was told that was very different from what everyone saw on the outside. Teresa was a small woman with gray hair always tied in a neat bun, but her hands, swollen and deformed by arthritis, told a story of daily pain. She moved slowly, leaning on a cane, careful not to trip on the hallway carpet. She had always had a sweet, patient nature accustomed to putting others first. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. But now, her every gesture seemed to offend her daughter. In the morning, as soon as she got up, she couldn't help but groan because of the pain in her back. The pain was like a knife stuck between her vertebrae. She didn't have time to let out a light sigh before she could hear Chiara's voice ringing sharply from the kitchen. "For heaven's sake, Mom, can you stop complaining? I can't stand hearing you moan like a dying old lady anymore." Teresa looked down, biting her lips. She tried to hold her breath, to stifle her moans, but it was stronger than her. Every movement was a pang. At breakfast, when she brought the spoon to her mouth, her dentures would slip out just a little and make a little noise. She didn't mean to do it on purpose, but that sound was enough to make Chiara throw a look full of disgust. "Mom, listen to how you eat. Can't you pay more attention? You're making me lose the desire to sit at the table." Teresa swallowed quickly, avoiding chewing too much so as not to disturb, but her hands were shaking more and more. The fear of making a mistake had become a constant presence beside her. Even the small sounds of footsteps in the house, the tapping of the cane on the floor, the rustling of slippers annoyed Chiara. "Please, Mom, move more slowly. You seem like a ghost. You seem like a specter wandering aimlessly. You're getting on my nerves." Teresa took refuge more and more often in her room, closed behind a half-open door, clutching an old rosary in her hands, praying in silence. But even there in the darkness, Chiara's words reached her, like thorns that stuck in her flesh. When the phone rang, Teresa hoped with all her heart that it was Matteo, her distant son who lived in another city, the only one who still sincerely cared about her. But Chiara was always the quickest to answer. "No, Matteo. Mom is resting. No, she can't talk now. She's tired." Then, putting the phone down, she would give Teresa a warning look. "Don't you dare say anything, okay? I don't want any drama." Teresa was silent, not out of cowardice, but because she felt she had no more strength. Her heart had broken little by little, day after day, word after word. But Matteo was no longer calm. Why did his mother, who once loved to chat and tell the little things of the day, now never answer the phone? Why did Chiara always seem annoyed by his questions? One day, following his instinct, Matteo decided to go and see for himself. He got into his car, stopped along the way to buy a lemon cake, his mother's favorite, and drove to their house. His heart could be heard pounding in his chest, a mixture of anxiety and hope. When he got to the house, he rang the bell, but no one answered. He took the spare key from his purse and opened the door. What he saw left him breathless. Teresa was sitting in the kitchen, her hands clasped in her lap, her shoulders hunched, her eyes shining. In front of her, Chiara was screaming, gesticulating furiously. "I can't take it anymore, Mom. You're unbearable. Always there complaining, making noises, getting in the way. You're slow, you're heavy, you're a burden. Why don't you go away? Why don't you let me live in peace?" Mateo dropped the cake on the floor. The box opened and the cake shattered on the floor. "Mom," he murmured, his voice broken by disbelief. Kiara turned around suddenly, her gaze annoyed. "Mateo, what are you doing here?" Mateo approached, kneeling next to his mother, taking her hands in his. He felt her rough skin, her trembling fingers, her irregular breathing. "Mom, what's going on here?" Teresa burst into tears, tears she had been holding back for too long. Mateo held her close, anger rising inside him like a raging wave. He turned to Kiara, his eyes blazing. "How could you? How could you do this to her? She's our mother. She's the woman who raised us, who loved us, who made sacrifices for us." Kiara snorted, waving her hands. "You don't understand, Mateo. You've never been there. You don't know what it means to live with her, day after day, with her moans, her tics, her complaints. It's a nightmare." Mateo felt his heart tighten. He looked at his mother, so small and fragile, and felt an unshakable determination grow. "Enough. From today, Mom is coming with me." Kiara tried to argue, but Mateo gave her a cold look. "You've said enough." That evening, Mateo took Teresa to his house. Sarah, his wife, greeted them at the door with a warm smile. "Welcome, Teresa," he said, holding her in a hug that made all her resistance collapse. Teresa cried, but this time they weren't tears of humiliation. They were tears of relief. She had finally left a house where she had become invisible, where every little gesture had been transformed into an excuse to make her feel like a burden. In the days that followed, she began to recover. She walked in the garden, sat in the sun, cooked with Sarah, and enjoyed the food without fear of making noise, and breathed without feeling guilty. But inside, she still carried a wound. One evening, while she was knitting, she looked at Mateo with sad eyes. "How is your sister?" Mateo took her hand and squeezed it gently. "I'll take care of it, Mom, but now you just think about yourself." When she went to bed, a thought overwhelmed her in a wave of peace. Finally, after years of humiliation, she was breathing again. She knew that the road to recovery would be long, but now she had someone who truly loved her beside her, and with a smile she whispered to herself, "I'm not alone anymore." Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.